Hey everybody, Benjamin back for another episode of Spitball of the Day. Today's episode is a follow-up episode to number 6, where we talked about poaching employees and why I think that's great. The reason I need to do this follow-up is because I got a lot of valuable feedback, and I appreciate it, from people who are not necessarily on the same page as I. So I wanted to clarify some things, I wanted to bring up some points, and then I also wanted to explain my process to you so you can better understand where I'm coming from, because all you get to see is the little 5.5-minute clip of me rambling, and then you shut it down, and that's it. Number one point I wanted to make here is that video itself was not intended, it was strictly intended for current employers of employees who are getting poached, not a how-to guide on poaching somebody else's employees. That was the original intent. I understand that my communication was flawed in that I didn't make that point very strongly, but that was the intent, and that's the way I view it. Is as an employer, you should know, you should be playing the offense when it comes to knowing what your employees want, knowing where they're headed, and if an employee does want to go somewhere else, well, that's his prerogative. Okay, it just means that you don't have what he needs, and that's fine. Okay, so that was the original intent. Secondly, it was not intended to offend, but it definitely apparently came across in some way, shape, or form in that manner. So couple that with the clickbait title of I think poaching employees is great, and taking that approach, you kind of like this brash throwing punches approach. I think that was out of order. And I think my points would have been made a lot more clear had I taken more of a humble approach and more of ultimately a more structured approach. Understand on my end, one of the things that I believe in firmly is the ability to ship things, the ability to get things out the door, the ability to take an idea and put it out there and see what happens. But I do understand when it comes to people taking things personally, or offenses there, or people being offended, some of that I need to be careful about, because it's not my intent to do that. So that being said, because I just hit the upload button and hit the publish button a lot, I don't take a lot of time to bring structure to it. I don't take a lot of time to brainstorm and take a bunch of notes, and I don't have a teleprompter, and I don't go back and review my videos. I don't watch them before I put them up. And so anything that runs through this little 3, 4, 5-minute clip, it goes. So I think there's a lot of value in that, but I also think there's a huge amount of value in the lesson that I'm learning here in the feedback that I'm getting is my communication can be flawed, and I need to be very, very careful about that in the future when it comes to my personal relationships, because some of you weren't that impressed with it, and now I can see that. I count it as a failure. I count the video itself as a failure because I did not communicate my intent, my points well enough. I didn't have enough structure, and I rambled, and I had tangents and rabbit trails, and I got to where I didn't want to be, but again, it came back to shipping it, and so that's where I landed. I count it as a failure, but most of all, if I did offend you, if you didn't like that, I'm sorry. I apologize for that, and I hope that this brings a little more clarity to that, so that it doesn't have to be weird in the future. So that stuff being said, I do want to hear more of your thoughts around this, around hopefully the clarity that I brought here, and I want to hear it. Send me a message, send me a text, give me a call, whatever you need to do, and I want to hear about if things didn't go well on your end. I want to hear about that. I want to hear about your thoughts on taking the offense approach as the employer, and I want to have more conversation around that. But understand that the intent wasn't to offend, and I do count it as a failure in that I didn't communicate my points well enough, and I didn't take others into consideration. So that being said, I hope we can continue the conversation. Thank you much, guys.